Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. This week brings a guest that's been on here before. He's no stranger to the show. He's a USPSA GM in multiple divisions. Let's give a warm round of applause for Matt Hopkins. Hey, Matt. How are you?
There we go.
There we are. The good thing about I can fix my mistakes.
No worries on that. I think it's okay. Like, you can leave it in. It actually helped the Area 8 troll group that thinks I'm still living in Delaware. So.
You mean you're not?
No, I'm not.
I know you're not. That's funny. You would almost think, with as long as it took you to get to Thailand, that you actually lived in Minnesota.
I mean, that travel on that was crazy.
It was. We're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah.
I mentioned that. I used that example when I talked to a couple of people about the world shoot and how nuts it was, and it seemed like you were stuck in Minnesota for a week.
I was there quite a bit. Yeah, I was stuck. The whole travel thing was really bad. It was probably as bad as it could have got and getting there. Like, if it would have been worse if I didn't get there. But that's the only way it could have been worse.
Wow. Now, did they have to change your schedule around so that you could?
No.
Or did you make it just in the nick of time?
I made it to my hotel in the room 12 hours before I had to start shooting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you didn't get a chance to test anything out either, did you?
Nope. Not at all. Nothing.
Boy. Goodness gracious. First round fired is for record.
Well, that was interesting. So I got up on the first stage. We started on stage 6, and the way the order had broken out, I was first up on that stage. The only good thing was it was after lunch, so the ROs messed up the timer or something. Or they did something, it wasn't recording the time. So I got a free run. I got a halfway run on an IPSC World Shoot stage, and then got rotated to the back. So
okay,
it was kind of neat. I mean, it was good.
All right, so they gave you like a half stage warm up.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah,
that was very nice of them. Convenient after all the other stuff you had to go through.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So, just in general, how was your 2022 shooting season?
Honestly, it was hectic. It's the least amount of rounds I've shot probably in the last 5 years. Moving, changing jobs, like it was everything was done pretty early, like in the first half of the year, and I was pretty much settled in for the second half. So I was able to manage it, but it's not ideal. Wasn't ideal at all.
Okay. How did it affect your performance at Nationals?
I mean, I had just settled in, and I didn't even have a range to shoot at that point. So I was shooting local matches, driving around. That was all I could do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like your live fire practice too, then?
It was. Yeah, it absolutely was.
Wow. So did you find a range? Is all that good to go now?
Yeah, I'm all settled in. I got everything now. I got 2 ranges I could go to. One's pretty close with limited hours, and then one's open more any daylight hours. So as soon as time changes, I'll be good to go after work.
Does FN not have a range down there, or?
They have a range internal. They actually have 2 different ranges, but there's security and everything you have to go to. So I couldn't like bring my gun in and take it out every day. That it would just be it wouldn't be able to be done.
Okay. All right.
And honestly, I want it to stay like that's my job. I go do that. But like when I'm away, I don't want to
spend your time at work.
Yeah, pretty much. And they've like asked me like, do you want to shoot an FN or anything like that, or do you want to talk to the marketing people? And I told them no. Like I've done that before. I want to just kind of do what I'm doing for myself, for me, and for my fun outside of work. So when I leave there, my job, they don't really expect me to work after hours or anything, so I can do whatever I want. I could go travel on my off time. So it's basically purely on me for what I want to do. And that definitely was not always the case. So
Are you still shooting for CZ then, or no?
no.
Are you still shooting a CZ?
Yes, I am. Yeah. I'm
Oh,
shooting a Shadow 2 right now. So
all
yeah,
right. How you liking it?
it's good. I spending a bunch of time on the Polymer P10. The trigger system, like it was pretty good. The trigger on the Shadow 2 is better, but the weight of the gun I think makes more difference than the trigger at this point. So that's how, like, I'm sure we're going to talk. I know we're going to talk about the board and what they were talking about and everything. So I'll have more to elaborate on that. But I think I spent enough time and understand the differences in the guns and the trigger systems now to have a more intelligent answer when it comes to that. And when people say stuff about they're all the same and everything, they're basically not.
I was just at SHOT Show.
Yeah.
I played with the new Rival X. Holy guacamole, that thing's much heavier than I have the polymer Rival,
Hmm.
which I use. The steel is 42 ounces, so it's like an extra roughly 12 ounces
That's awesome.
in weight.
That's a great weight.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you about when I picked it up. I had Nils on a couple weeks ago and we chatted about it. But the thing that I noticed, I picked it up. I was like, it's nice. It's balanced. It'll feel good in recoil. But the first thing that went through my head was transitions are going to be different, like
As long as
way
you get
different.
used to it.
Right. But I don't feel like the moving it will be difficult. But I feel like the difference is going to be stopping it
Yeah.
right on target without any,
Hmm.
back and forth wobble per se.
Yeah.
Agree, disagree, or
It's gonna take a little more if you're used to the polymer gun and the weight in there. So yeah, it's gonna take a little more in stopping it, but it's not something you can't train out. And when I switched back to the Shadow 2, I think I landed like Sunday night and I was shooting a match on the next Saturday with the Shadow 2. So I switched in like immediately and I definitely noticed it for a while, but then once I started shooting and practicing and dry firing with it was a non-issue now.
how long did you think that transition period was for you? I mean, it's going to be different for me, but for you, how long was that transition period?
It was at least a month. And I
Yeah,
mean,
I've
I
already.
shot the polymer gun for what, 2 years after I learned I was on the team. So once I realized and heard I was on the team, I switched immediately and didn't ever shoot anything else. Like I was basically practicing for 2.5 years with the same guns. I think don't want to blame the equipment much, but it's definitely harder to shoot those guns at a higher level.
The steel guns.
No, the polymer guns.
Oh, the polymer. Okay, I
Yeah,
gotcha. So you definitely think the weight then is an advantage. Okay,
100%. Yeah,
okay. Then I guess we'll get to that when we get there.
yeah.
Now, did you shoot production
Production
nationals?
optics light.
Okay, right. At World Shoot, you shot
Yeah,
that. You were on the team.
yeah.
Okay. Before that, did you shoot any of the other after Carry Optics Nationals? Did you shoot any of limited or production nationals?
No, I didn't. I did not at
Okay.
all because I was 100% dedicated to that gun and that platform. And
Okay.
starting the new job, I really didn't have time off, and I had to basically plan out my year with limited time off. And I knew I had to take a certain number of days for World Shoot.
Right.
So, and honestly, I had to work the Friday morning of Carapax Nationals and then go out and shoot that afternoon. So I like drove in after work Thursday, worked remote like Friday morning for several hours, and then went to the range and competed. So
Wow.
like it's not ideal. There's a bunch of factors that added to that. So and that's just one of them. That's so I had time to go to the World Shoot.
So you probably did you even well, I saw you what? Thursday evening, you and Crystal. I saw you guys Thursday
No,
afternoon.
it would have been Friday, no, Friday, yeah, maybe Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon.
When you guys were walking the
Yeah,
stages?
yeah.
Okay, look
Because
at
I
that.
had
Already
shot him
in
and
my.
she was in the section behind me, so I was talking her through the stages.
Okay. Yeah, look at that. I'm already getting my days all mixed up. Okay. Well, thank you for being patient when I walked up and and uh, interrupted you guys during your walkthrough.
Oh, it's fine. I'm used to that. It's no problem at all.
She's a she's got a lot of energy. She's a fun
Yeah,
conversation.
she does. Yeah.
So it was funny. So how did you like before we get to World Shooting that? How did you like carry the last Carry Optics Nationals?
I
What did you
thought it
think of that?
was the best match I've shot at CMP, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've talked about it before, but CMP has only one thing against it, and it's the number of bays.
Agree.
Um, but otherwise, like it was the best match I've shot there, and the best stages. I didn't think anything was like overly crazy or hard or negatively affected the match flow. So they've worked out a lot of that stuff there. So we'll see with what they have for next year at a range that's never even hosted a level 2 match. So
Yeah, and I saw a picture recently. I want to say it was December where they were showing them being built, the bays being built.
they're building only 8. The other 8 or 10 or they have probably 20 other bays, but they like half of those are downrange only with concrete sidewalls. The other half are downrange, but they have wood sidewalls. They've said they know how to shoot into the wood and do that, so it'll
Okay.
be interesting. I'm gonna definitely take a pair of shoes to wear in mud
Yeah,
because
that's
fresh dirt
probably a
like
good
that,
idea.
it's going to be, and in the springtime it could rain very, very easily. And I've been on that range before for SASP, and it's muddy and it's wet and it doesn't drain very fast.
Well, maybe I'll bring two pair of shoes then.
I would definitely, if you're driving, yeah, I would.
Okay, I'm definitely driving because it's only 8 hours, so I'm
Yeah,
definitely
it's
going to
it's
drive.
9 for me here, so I'm driving also.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No.
You must be close to an interstate because you're definitely further south than me. So,
I think I go up interstate for 2 or 3 hours, but the rest is like state highways.
I would have guessed 10 to 11 for you, but okay.
Last I looked up, it was only 9, but I'll look closer. We'll see. It's
Have you
still
already
within
reserved
driving
your?
distance, so
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I drove to CMP from up here, and I'm only an hour south of DC, so I want to say that takes about 11 to 12 hours for me.
oh
So
really? Okay. It's four
yeah,
hours from me. No, 5 hours from me.
that's not bad at all.
No, and I can get to the Florida matches pretty easily too. So just moved here just in time for them to never ever have another match in Frostproof.
Right, that was inconvenient. But if you want to shoot IPSC, you're way closer to all the IPSC
Yeah.
matches now.
Yep. Plan
So,
on doing
and
that. So
I was going to say, before we get into the actual world shoot stuff, and maybe it's just me because, as you know on the document, it's like maybe it's I'm new and I'm just seeing a lot more of the IPSC stuff coming around. But reading the social media stuff, it really seems to be getting a lot of traction.
so I've seen, I think, 3.5 cycles of this now, where 3 world shoots have happened. I've been there for the qualifiers leading up to it, the coverage after the last world shoot. So there's a lot of interest right now because the world shoot just happened. And so this is probably the peak interest of number of people that want to go to the next world shoot. So I've talked to people. I think there's roughly 300 people that have interest in going to it. There's probably only realistically 100 that will put the time to go qualify for the matches and put the expense out to go to the world shoot. Like it's not cheap. Thailand was definitely the cheapest place I've been, and I got out of there for way under what I thought I would spend or even had budgeted to spend.
Yeah, I just feel like IPSC in general, like with the popularity of the Caribbean Open, second year in a row now, people have gone, seems to be garnering more interest. Um, People seem to like the hybrid rules.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid between
Right,
USPSA and IPSC.
right. So I feel like with that, and you just had the IPSC
Pan
Extreme
American
Open,
Extreme.
Pan American Extreme Open, and
Yeah.
some others recently. They seem to be getting a little bit more interest in that.
I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's interesting. IPSC does not do everything perfectly. So to just go straight adopt IPSC rules would not be, it's not something I would suggest. And I've dealt with both. IPSC does stuff better than USPSA, and it goes both ways. So
Yeah, I like the hybrid rules of the Caribbean Open. I think it's interesting. The part that interests me the most, I think, is the fact that you have to stay within the fault lines.
yep.
Because then I really think now it's a more of a test against each individual shooter now, where everybody's having to go for the most part the same way. There's still a few options, but
Yeah,
after talking,
I think that's an awesome thing that could be used. I think you should be able to say if it's stay within the fault lines or not per stage.
yeah, I agree.
I think it would make setup much easier because if you want to force people to shoot a certain way, you have to basically wall it in USPSA
Correct.
rules. In IPSC, you don't have to do that. You can lay down some fault lines and it's good.
Yeah, now you're channeling them how you want it to go and
Yep.
testing what it is you want to have tested.
Yeah. I think that would be a huge thing. Kind of like we have fixed time and Virginia count. We could have well, I'm not even going to throw a name out there, but whatever people decide to call it.
That's the part that intrigues me. Now, did you take an off season?
I actually have not. No, I've been shooting consistently. Well, I mean, I took like the first half of the year off last year, so really,
Okay. All right. So you still have a ways to go to catch up.
yeah. I did look at my calendar. It's looking like July will be my off month. I'm gonna shoot pretty consistently up until then. Then I'll take a break and then finish the year out. I don't have any matches or anything in July.
Are you getting any majors in before Carry Optics Nationals?
Yep. I have one, two, three, four, five, it looks like.
Whoa, that's probably every one of them because there aren't a whole.
Uh,
Well, I
yeah.
guess you're traveling a little bit because
Yeah, it's like Kentucky twice, Area 6, which is local here. So local is 2 hours away. So South Carolina
okay.
State, I think, oh, Buckeye Blast, so Ohio a second time in there.
So I had that on the list. There's actually cash money prizes for that.
Is there?
Yeah.
That's neat.
Let me make sure.
I'm sure
Yeah,
there is.
Buckeye
I've seen more
Blast.
matches doing that. Yeah.
That's also on the list for later, but very, very interesting. I'm starting to see more and more as well.
Well, it's hard to. I've ran matches at all levels. I've looked at the finances with everything. It's hard to the way the match fees are. It's hard not to make profit on the matches. You know, if you have enough local-ish staff, you don't have to pay them to travel in, and you have good enough benefits for them. You can have money, and you can make money on these matches. It's been proven before. There's been big matches ran all throughout the country, and entry fees are doing nothing but going up. And the cost of the stuff is not going up that high. If a 1x2 for a target stick a bundle of them cost $4 2 years ago, it what cost $6 now. That's not a lot, and so that doesn't take up much. It doesn't take up as much of the match entry fees as people say. And I've seen the nationals, what they spend on each nationals, and it's not that much. Like nationals probably has the best staff package I've seen comparative to the other area matches and like the ones I've seen and state level matches on the finances that I've seen. So
Having run different levels of matches, how far out would you know this is how much quote unquote profit I have So this is how much I could dedicate to cash in prizes.
I'd say I knew a couple months after I opened the entry fees, open entry, and then so that was like 3 or 4 months ahead of the match.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had everything broken down to how much per shooter I was paying the range. So I knew all that. I knew how much I was paying for the staff package. I knew how many staff I was having. So I budgeted all that in and had my maximum amount of staff. So I didn't ever spend anything over that. Now, I didn't get all the staff I needed. So that was able to be put back in the match. But I knew, like, if I had 45 slots for staff, I knew how much that would be. And I knew how much I had budgeted for water and snacks and RO drinks and the RO gift that I had budgeted money in for all the awards and the trophies. I had all that budgeted in. So I knew every, like, down to the penny how much I was spending and where I was at plus or minus.
Now, did you come up with that all on your own, or
I
was
had
there a
I
template
had
that someone?
there was a couple people provided something, but I had to modify it pretty heavily to get what I was looking for.
Now, was that for the Area 3, or
That
was
was
that
for
just
Area
a?
3, yeah. And I got the sheet from the Free State match, and so I kind of adapted that to what I was needing. But it eventually turned into something totally different.
I'm wondering if somebody could create like an Excel spreadsheet where you could literally, depending on what area you are, you just go in and punch in your numbers and it automatically calculates all this stuff for you and
Yeah,
just one template for all the
yeah.
area matches, you know?
You could basically use the one I have, and I just clear it out, and I'd make it prettier and easier for people to use. But yeah, you could do that. Pretty simple. And I actually created it like an estimating sheet so I could figure out like what the entry fee should be. And then I knew
Oh,
what I had to pay USPSA, if max shooters and max staff. That's how I kind of figured out what the staff package was also. This is, I'm going to probably be condescending here, but this is not rocket science. It's like maybe 50 lines of expenses and 3 lines of income. And then you just like add up all the expenses, add up all the income, and you have a final number. It's not that hard. Like
right.
the expenses aren't that random to come up with these numbers. And anybody that's running a match that's ran more than one big match has the information to them and available if they wanted to do the work to provide that to anybody, no matter what size match it was.
I have not run a match, so this is all
Yeah,
news
no,
to
it's
me. So,
if
but I mean,
you've good
go ahead.
friend said if you've ever balanced a checkbook, and he basically he called me out and he's like, you haven't ever done it. And I'm like, I haven't done it for a while, but yeah, I did do it once a long time ago.
Right.
If you've ever balanced a checkbook, you should have no problem doing a match.
No, I used to train people for a living in rifle.
Yeah.
So, I knew how much they were paying for the training. We
Yep.
knew what we put out in targetry and everything else. So I can, even though I haven't done a USPSA style pistol match, I know how to break it all down.
Yeah,
So,
it's very simple. It's like, and even if you walk around a range and say, if you just think like if you go there like with the mind of I'm gonna look and see what's on this range and what I would need to like come up with to put one of these on. So you got to look around for porta potties. You got to look around. Are the safe tables there? You got to
hmm
look around. Do they have enough target stands, wall stands, sticks, all the stuff that goes with it? And then do they have shade or and cover like that? Area 3 had a trailer with a bunch of stuff in it. They had a bunch of targets that they bought over the years. They had timers, tablets. So Area 3 had a bunch of that stuff already. But I had a stats guy come in, Andrew and Scott. They came in. Area 3 bought a Wi-Fi system so they could do live scoring updates. Andrew brought in all their tablets, so he ran the tablets and the stats for the match. So people that want to make this hard, it's going to be hard. It's not that hard.
just sounds like a lot of coordination.
Yeah, which I guess I'm used to, but that's basically like my day job. Like I have to coordinate between a bunch of different things with a ton of different items. The project I'm on right now makes a match look like an eighth grader could do it.
So you're accustomed to it.
Yeah, it's not difficult.
Right. And I imagine too, I mean, if you're new to it, it'd just be reaching out to people who've done it before. So
Yeah,
I don't know of too many people that in this business, this sport, that aren't helpful. Let's talk about World Shoot.
sure.
How many days were you actually traveling to get there?
62 hours to get there.
62 hours. So we're
From the
talking two
time I
days and
left,
14 hours.
yeah.
Good Lord.
So I left my town about midnight. I had like a 6 a.m. flight out, and I was going to get there plenty of time. So I took off and forgot the keys to my locks. So I got to where I was going to park the car and had to basically like cut the locks off of everything. So two
Oh
sets of
Lord.
locks. Go find locks at 2 a.m., which can you even imagine where to go to get those? There's no Walmarts open at 2 a.m. anymore.
Not anymore.
The only place open are truck stops.
Oh yeah.
So I had to go buy
Okay.
locks at a truck stop. Started that way. Basically reconfigured all my bags when I got there. I knew I'd be overweight on one of them, so I had to kind of switch stuff around. I took ammo with me, so I had to make sure nothing was over the maximum 50 pounds.
And no more than 11 per bag, right?
It's 11 total, and yes, that's what
Okay.
I told them.
Okay. I get that. I know what you're saying. I can read between the lines. That's what I think everybody was saying, but
Yeah.
holy cow. So did your bag show up when you showed up?
Yeah, they did actually.
Okay. Well, that's a
So
plus.
flew out of airport here, got to Minneapolis. The plane was late, so it was like 8 hours delayed in Minneapolis. That caused me to miss the connection in South Korea. So Korean Air was like, "Yeah, you're gonna stay here overnight." So I stayed in South Korea overnight without a visa or any way. They just like let us out of the airport.
Really?
But they're like, "Your bags have firearms. You have to keep it." We kept them here. They kept them at the airport all night. It locked up. Yeah, so everybody else could got their bags, could change clothes and everything, and I was stuck in what I had.
Whatever you carried onto the plane is what you had.
I actually brought a second set of clothes just in case on that. So, and
Okay.
then they are like, "Oh, well, you had like a 5 p.m. flight the night before, so we'll just rebook you 24 hours later." So I said in Korea there was like a 9, 1, 3, and 5 o'clock flight. I could have been on any of those earlier ones, but they're like, "No, those are all sold out. You have to go on the 5 o'clock one." Yeah, so I was in Korea for 20 hours or something like that.
I feel like that's enough time to learn the language.
No, I mean I got to the hotel. I knew I had to sleep that night or I would be totally off for the whole week. And I actually got it was good because I couldn't do anything. I had to like kind of just sit in the hotel room. I walked around a little bit, but I was able to get on the sleep schedule that I needed to, and it was good for the whole week that way.
Now, where in Korea was it? Seoul? Is that where you landed,
Seoul,
or?
Korea. Yeah. Seoul,
Okay.
South Korea.
Right. Yeah, I was never in Seoul. I was in a couple different places south of there. So, all right. Well, if I'd have known, I could have told you if you want to get anywhere fast, just say hubba hubba honcho, and they'll drive crazy fast.
Will
It's the
they?
only time I've ever been scared in my life.
I don't know. I
Holy
didn't I
cow.
didn't I didn't explore much.
No, I don't blame you.
No. And it
It's
was
like
so
when,
late, nothing was open.
even during the day.
Oh, the next day, yeah, stuff was open. Yeah.
So you got on the 5 o'clock
Yeah, I
flight.
made it to Thailand, Bangkok after that. It was no problem. I was there so close to the match that there was no IPSC people or match people there to do the gun check-in and everything. So that took longer than everybody else experienced coming in because there was no locals there to help me. So it was
Oh,
like I don't know if the same people were there or what, but they had to check everything. It went smooth. It
okay.
was it was nothing out of the ordinary like any
No,
other international trip I've been on. So like they checked the
no,
serial numbers, checked paperwork, let me go. It was fine.
no body cavity checks or anything.
No, no, none of that.
Okay, Now, when were you able to check in for the match?
Like 2 hours before I started shooting. Yemen had to take me and another person because they arrived late also to go through gun check and all that and registration. That was all done at basically on the chrono stage because they had all the ROs on stages. They were working. They didn't have anybody doing gun check at that point.
Okay. So they just walked you right down there, huh?
Yeah.
And I guess they did your gear check then on the first stage like they do at USPSA?
They did gear check at the chrono, and then I
Okay.
never saw it done at all for the entire rest of the match. As a squad, they called a couple people out on certain questions, but that's pretty common. Normally, on all the other IPSC matches, they kind of like line you up in a line and do like a line. You know, when they have criminals lined up in the
Yep.
jail,
Yeah.
they usually do that at most IPSC matches. They did not do that here. I don't know if they
Well,
were checking like from the back and looking, but
I've had that done at a USPSA match.
really?
Yeah, they lined everybody up and just walked down and checked everybody. Yeah.
So silly.
I was like, I mean, I'm still kind of new. I'm 4 years into this sport,
Yeah.
so I'm still fairly new, I consider it anyway. So I was like, okay, all right, where do you want me to be? I'll do whatever you need me to do.
Yeah.
Now, what day was your free day where you weren't shooting?
No, we shot day 1 through 5, so
So you
landed
spent
12
Sunday-
hours, started shooting Sunday afternoon, and shot Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all in a
Okay.
row.
So now, would you have preferred to have had a free day in there, or do you like just going back to back to back without that pause?
I could deal with it anyway, like any way at all. I think it's fine, any of them. I'd like to shoot
Okay.
probably if I had my ideal situation like 3 and 2 or 2 and 3. That kind of gives you a rest day. You can reset in between.
Right. I feel like that would be the best. Like, so if you could get it in the middle somewhere,
Yeah.
that would be. It'd almost be like shooting a major match, a 1 day break, a major match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, what did you do on your Friday?
I went to the range for a little bit and watched the production shooters. And
Okay.
then what did I do Friday? I did some touristy stuff. I did that some Friday and some Saturday after the shoot off. So I did a little sightseeing. I didn't like experiment with the food or anything. I wasn't there for that, so I wasn't willing to take the risk to go get sick or anything because at that point, yeah, I was done shooting, but I was getting on a plane like within a day and a half or something, so I didn't want to risk getting sick like on the travel way back. So
Were there any elephants or Muay Thai fighting in your
yeah, I
day,
did both.
your
We
trip?
did both of those. I think we did the Muay Thai
Okay.
fighting in the week. I went with the lanes
Oh, you
and
did. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. Now, you said, oh, you went to the range to watch the world shoot. Did you get a chance to go to that range that Mason posted on
No,
Instagram?
I saw it. We drove by
Holy
it several
cow.
times. It's
Oh,
pretty
really?
neat. Yeah, it's
That
very
looks
neat.
like an amazing facility.
It's basically like they put I don't know what you call it, like a freestanding kind of like warehouse thing, but it had open sides on each side and like a
Right.
business front, and they basically shot outside of the warehouse into dirt berm. So it was nice.
Yeah,
It's
it
an
looked
interesting
really neat.
concept.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, completely protected from the elements, but still had that outdoor feel to it.
Yeah, it looked cool. To build something like that here would be way too cost prohibitive, I think. So
Maybe we can import it as a whole.
yeah, we'd have
Put
to
it on a
import their
tanker.
you have to import their economy also. I don't think that would work out good.
Okay. Yeah, probably not. Labor laws and minimum wage stuff
Minimum
probably wouldn't
wage, yeah,
go
I think
too
that's the
well.
big thing, yeah.
Yeah. Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.